Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd of September 2021, and we're producing our gold and silver morning update and price forecast. Gold and silver prices have risen slightly over the past 48 hours, but all eyes are on today's FOMC announcement and Jerome Powell's statement thereafter. We're not expecting any large price movements until then. We also have the Bank of England making their announcement on rates tomorrow, and whilst like the Fed we're not expecting any change in rates, we are expecting some indication of tapering of bond buying, or at least a scant blueprint of when it's likely to begin. Any hawkish or dovish approach will almost certainly affect the dollar and sterling, and gold and silver prices as a consequence. It's a difficult path for the Fed and Bank of England to tread, as they will not wish to crash the equity markets if they do decide to begin tapering. So let's take a look. Welcome to Illuminati Silver. It's Wednesday, 22nd of September 2021 at 10:50 a.m. GMT +1. Weather outside today, best way to describe it is muggy. Muggy meaning perhaps no sun, but warm and just that little sticky. And there's not much sun in the main news today. Or perhaps muggy is a better term, because the main headline on Bloomberg is that in Biden's Oval Office, Johnson's big Brexit promise slips away. And we'll take a quick look at that in a moment. We also have the British pound driven by fear and greed before Fed and Bank of England meetings. And we have a quick look at what's expected on the equity markets later today. Let's just have a quick look at the Oval Office Brexit promise. Boris Johnson talked up a trade deal with the US as one of the major prizes of his campaign for Brexit. Sitting in the Oval Office on Tuesday, it was clear the UK leader has little hope of delivering it. We're going to talk a little bit about trade today, and we're going to have to work that through. US President Joe Biden told reporters at the start of his meeting with Johnson, when asked about the prospects for an agreement. The lukewarm response comes after the British Prime Minister himself tried to downplay expectations of progress. On the plane to New York, he told reporters Biden has a lot of fish to fry and didn't have time to negotiate. Doesn't sound very promising, does it? British pound driven by fear and greed before Fed and Bank of England meetings. The pound is testing a key support level ahead of monetary policy decisions this week by the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England. The so-called fear-greed indicator shows bears control price action by the most in 2 months, threatening a bullish trend channel that's been in place since July. Announcements by the central banks could be the catalyst for the UK currency to either hit fresh lows or establish $1.36 as a line in the sand. And of course, as we know, we have the FOMC announcement today, and the Bank of England normally reports on a Thursday. So with that in mind, stocks in Europe rose for a second day along with US index futures as concerns about China Evergrande Group debt woes eased ahead of Wednesday's Federal Reserve policy decision. Basic resources and energy were among the leading gainers in the Stocks Europe 600 index, as commodity prices steadied after Beijing moved to contain fears of a spiraling debt crisis at Evergrande that could ravage demand from the property sector. S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 contracts advanced. China avoided a major sell-off after trading resumed following a holiday, after the country's central bank boosted its injection of short-term cash into the financial system. So there we have it. The fear of Evergrande, is it over? We shall have to wait and see. But without doubt, the blueprint for central banks and governments around the world now is whenever there is a problem, just pump in more cash. And looking at cash, we can see catalogue of errors led to a £1 billion pension shortfall. Fraudsters steal £4 million a day as crime surges. Government to pay millions to restart CO2 supplies. And Pret, that's Pret-a-Manger firm in the UK, to hire 3,000 staff as city workers return. In the US, the major news on the BBC, Biden plays down chances of UK-US trade deal. Conservative O'Toole defiant after loss to Trudeau. And the US lifts COVID travel ban on UK and EU citizens. And it looks like people in Australia are suffering 50 degrees centigrade temperatures. Breaking news on Reuters, German auto giants place their bets on hydrogen cars. Now this has a long-term ramification. Battery power may be the front runner to become the car technology of the future, but don't rule out the underdog, hydrogen. So, what are our markets like? Have they been hydrogenized? Well, the dollar is up 0.008, so it's fractional, at 93.21. Energy prices are up nearly $1. Stock markets in the US yesterday closed with the Dow down and the S&P down, but really tiny amounts, and the Nasdaq and the Nikkei both up. Asia Pacific overnight, apart from the Hang Seng and the S&P ASX, they were all down, but again between 0.5% and 1%. And this morning, with a few hours trading, we can see that the UK markets and the European markets broadly are up between 0.5% and 1%. Good news. Well, will we have good news this afternoon? Because it is this afternoon in UK time that we will be able to see, well, it'll be evening, actually early evening UK time, we'll be able to see what the FOMC is going to do as we have their statement today. But before we look at that, a quick look at yesterday's data. Building permits for August were 1.73 million, better than expected, and housing starts were 1.62 million, also better than expected, and the current account for quarter two, minus $190 billion, slightly below market expectations. So, let's see what's going to happen today. We have said that today is pivotal, and whatever is announced is going to have ramifications both for the equity market, the value of the US dollar, and of course gold and silver prices. And on that very issue, this morning, or over the last 24 hours, we can see that gold has risen some almost $9 and is currently standing at $1,776, and silver is standing at $22.73, up 14 cents, though it has been higher just a very short while, an hour or two ago. It did reach as high as $22.91. To forecast what's going to happen today is extraordinarily difficult because, of course, the Fed has two major issues to consider. The first was the very poor non-farm payroll jobs report, suggesting that the economy is not lifting out of recession, but then the very, very high retail sales figures, which suggest that people are spending and therefore we are coming out of recession. Against that, of course, it has to balance inflation. So it's going to be interesting. We suspect they will potentially delay tapering a month or so. Whether they'll announce that month today is uncertain, though they might try and get ahead of it by saying it could be October, November, December or January. We shall have to wait and see. Taking a position, any trader will tell you now, before that announcement, will be foolhardy because it could go either way. If they're hawkish, then of course we're going to see a slump in gold and silver prices. If they're dovish, then we should see a reasonable rise. But do not under any circumstances, if they are dovish, think it's going to the moon. Now, something that has been landing back on Earth have been cryptocurrency prices. Over the last 2 days, they've fallen quite significantly. In the last 24 hours, down again nearly 3%. And the market cap is 1.88 trillion. They're dictated to some degree, A, by the fact they've been operating in a slight bubble, and secondly, of course, they have been rising and falling in line with equity markets and the fear of the Evergrande contagion. Or that was at least the excuse they've given for the fall. Moving forward, again, it's all going to depend on what happens today. The value of the dollar will be dictated by the FOMC meeting, and then of course we'll see what the Bank of England says tomorrow. On that note, we just draw your attention to a few videos we produced in recent days, why gold and silver may have further to fall, and that was published on Sunday, but they did actually fall the other day. Gold and silver sinks. Wednesday is the big day, and we hold to that, and our updates Monday and Tuesday. That's it for now. We're not going to make any predictions until we know what the Fed says. What we will say is dovish, prices of gold and silver will go up, the dollar will weaken. Hawkish, the opposite's likely to occur. But frankly, if they are dovish, whilst we may see a rise, we are not going to see a parabolic rise that some of the pumpers are predicting. Why? Because if they delay the tapering a month or two, it still hangs there like a cloud for traders to keep watching on this rather muggy day. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Until next time. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.